Guitar cables are great. They get the job done. They're reliable, but they're also really boring. They're also a trip hazard. So when I'm practicing or playing live, I usually ditch the cable and pick up some wireless. Because I like to move around on stage and have fun. I like to go talk to the drummer, talk to the bassist, run out into the crowd, jump on a tractor, jump off my amp. That's all a lot easier when you have some wireless. So this company called Flatsons sent me some wireless to check out. Model number is FW2D, guitar wireless system, no noise, no electricity buzz. It's in the 2.4 gigahertz range, which we'll talk about in a little bit, and they say less than 5 milliseconds latency. So we're gonna put these to the test. First, we're just gonna plug them in and see how they feel. We'll do a range test. I think I got 60 feet in here to move around. We'll test the tone and compare it to a cable to see if there's any tone loss, and we'll compare that latency to a cable and see if it really is under 5 milliseconds. And two other features that stand out to me about this, there's supposed to be no pop when you unplug it from your guitar, which is really cool if you want to change guitars, and I'll have to look this up again, but apparently if you have 2 sets of these, you can do 1 transmitter to 2 receivers, so you could go to 2 amps wirelessly. Let's start with 1 amp bill. Let's plug it in, see how it feels, test the range. Let's get into it. We're gonna do a range test, so I'm gonna plug this right into my little Black Star F3, turn the power on. Transmitter's going out of the guitar into the receiver, which is going into the amp, and this should be pop free, so you shouldn't hear a pop when I plug this in. Let's test that no pop feature. Ready? Okay. Cool. Let's turn up the, go to the dirty channel. No pop. That's cool. I'm gonna run around. I got about 60 feet. There's a bunch of cameras and a bunch of monitors, so we'll be able to test some like interference issues too, maybe? Turn the delay off. Alright, goodbye. I didn't hear any issues. Let's go dirty channel, and I'm just gonna go walk around some monitors, bridge pickup, and let's just see if there's any interference. Walk all near these cameras and everything. Well, I didn't hear anything. We'll check the video to make sure, but okay. Range test. It feels nice. I can't detect any latency. I don't think I notice anything under 20 milliseconds. Some people claim they notice like 4 or 5 milliseconds. So if you're one of those people, then just don't do wireless at all. Stand 1 foot away from your amp with a 1-foot cable, and that's what you're gonna do. Anyways, first test is good. Let's see if we can do 2 receivers to 1 transmitter. So they gave me 2 sets so I could give away one, which I'll probably do on my Instagram. I don't want to do it here on YouTube. But that also gives us the chance to see if we can transmit to 2 different receivers. So we already have these synced up. So I held down catch on the new receiver and the same transmitter, and it looks like they're together. So let's just test one. Transmitter and the guitar. Turn the amp on. Let's go to the other receiver. Okay, that is a cool feature. So if you want to go to 2 amps, you can, but what I'm thinking is it would be cool to go to a recording device too, so you could have a DI and your amp. Cool feature. Let's do a tone test now. We're gonna compare the wireless to a cable. That's all that really matters, right? You just want to compare it to a cable. Let's start off with the wireless. This is a clean sound. Let's go P90 neck pickup. test the no pop feature again. Let's switch to a cable. So literally all I've done is unplug the wireless, plug the cable in. Neck pickup. I'll do it one more time, you tell me if you hear a difference. Here's cable. So let me know in the comments, did you hear a difference? Now let's compare the latency to a cable. So I recorded a click track through a cable and through the wireless, and we're gonna just see the difference in latency between the cable and the wireless. So here's my click source, blue is cable, purple or pink is wireless. We're just gonna zoom in. So the click source and the cable are basically there. The wireless is just behind right here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna nudge this pink one over to the left 1 millisecond at a time until it lines up, and that is going to be the number I'm going to determine to test the latency between the wireless and the cable. If you have a better way of testing this, let me know in the comments, but this is the best way I can do it, just comparing the latency of the wireless compared to the cable, because that's what you would be using anyway. So we're going to the left 1 millisecond at a time. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think 8 lined it up the most. I think 8 gets you closer. 5 milliseconds is not accurate based on my test. I could be doing the test wrong. So let me know in the comments if I could do this test better. But we're talking about 3 milliseconds here. So 8 isn't a big deal. 5 would be better, obviously. 8, you're not going to notice, I don't think. So in my humble opinion, 8 milliseconds is perfectly acceptable. Going from guitar to the amp, 8 milliseconds later, hearing it, you're not going to notice that. 20 milliseconds is when I start to notice it, but I can still play with it. So 8 milliseconds is nothing for me. Now, here's a situation where 8 milliseconds might be a problem. If you already have a latency that's built up to like 15 milliseconds, and then you add 8 milliseconds more on top of that, then that would be pushing over my acceptable range. So I would always record with a cable anyway. But if you wanted to use this in recording, and you want to run amp sims and everything, and you're already at a 15 millisecond latency, adding 8 more to that is going to make it more difficult to record, just because that would be pushing over my threshold. A couple more things I want to talk about. These units are a lot smaller than the ones I've used before. They're a little bit thicker. They're honestly a lot sturdier than my other ones. And let me switch guitars and show you something. Something that's convenient for me for the Strat is you can actually plug it in here, fold it, and then the trem bar goes right over it, no problems. If you're using other units that are bigger, you're going to have an issue. They're going to have to stick out like that, and then you're not going to be able to use your trem arm. So finding that out was convenient. And lastly, I want to talk about the 2.4 gigahertz range. That is not a great range for this to be in. This wireless is not going to be good for you if you play to big crowds. If you use it for practice, awesome. Could be used for recording, but I would stick to cables with that anyway. Small gigs are fine. Small churches are probably okay. But if you're going from small gigs to like medium-sized gigs, town festivals, stuff where there's like hundreds of people there, I would recommend something in the 5K range. I've used those 5K transmitters and receivers with success in situations like that, but I've also had stuff fail when there were huge crowds at the 2.4 gigahertz range. It wasn't this wireless, it was a rack mixer actually. One of those Behringer X-Airs, great mixer, but using that internal router in the 2.4 range, there was 1 gig where I just could not connect to it. So if you play to big crowds, I wouldn't recommend this. But personal use, small gigs, small churches, I think this works great. I think the battery life is supposed to be up to 6 hours. I didn't test that. Anyways, I like the thing. The no pop feature is very nice. The multiple receiver feature is very nice as well. Size is nice. It's quite a bit sturdier than my other ones. It's a good weight. It's not heavy, but it's not like paper either. I think it's cool. I'll be using these a lot. So if you have any questions for me or any feedback about how I did my test, the tone test, the latency test, or anything like that, go ahead and leave a comment. If you have better ideas for how I can test these out better, please let me know in the comments. I'm always just looking to improve. Right now, I think comparing it to a cable is the way to go because that is what this would replace. Anyways, I think that's all I have for you guys. So links to the product are in the description. Links to all the gear I use is in the description as well. Again, if you have any questions or feedback, leave a comment. Thank you all for watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.